Yo, what's going on, guys? It's been a while since I've done a vlog style video. Happy New Year's, Happy Christmas. Hope you guys have been well. I've been able to enjoy my Christmas and New Year's. Obviously a lot of new things, like a hoodie and stuff. Obviously, haircut, rocking it. But, I'm balding, I swear. I hope you guys have been able to enjoy it. But I haven't done one of these in a while, and I want to get right into it. So, um, it's been crazy for sure. I've been getting a lot of rejections on some other stuff that I've been trying to do. Maybe like law enforcement and stuff, trying my stuff at that, and haven't really been getting far with that. And that it sucks. Um, it just happens, man. Maybe it's like, oh, you don't need to do that, so you can do this instead. And it's like, I told you guys about my contract job and stuff, and all that, and still been doing that monthly and stuff. But in my opinion, I still don't think it's enough. I still want to keep going more and keep doing this and that, and like, it kind of a thing that helped bring me back into that light again of like stuff that I want to accomplish and that I want to do is when I went on, my Christmas to New Year's and I went to the state, right, with my significant other. I'll probably put like a clip or an image and stuff, but I drove one of my significant other's dream cars, her dream car, and I got to drive it because, she doesn't have a license yet. She's still working on that because, she has many problems as well. um, but, I got to drive it for 2 days, and I fell in love with it. It was a Corvette. I think it was like a 2022 Corvette Stingray, 2LT, or it was probably a 2LT. But man, it really reinforced my love of one, cars, and two, just like that thing that I want to do, right? And that thing that I want to do is, if you've ever seen a YouTuber named Jake Schnatterdays, he's a car vlogger, basically, right? He makes these vlogs and YouTube channels about him and cars, doing upgrades, doing, this and that, right? Normal car guy things, right? That's the type of stuff that I want to do. And I'm pretty sure that's the type of stuff I want to do. But obviously, I really, can't afford to be like, hey, I'm going to go finance a 2022 Corvette Stingray that's over $60,000 or to buy. It's over 3 times the price of my current car that I'm using right now, just for as a car, right? So it would be a huge investment and a huge monthly cost and insurance cost as well, because it is a two-door. I am around, my early 20s, so I'm pretty high risk for insurance. So, put those two together, and insurance is like, give us your money, you know? Especially with like the percentages that I do for my insurance. Like, hey, I want 300K, 200K, and then uninsured and stuff like that, right? So it adds up, right? So it's like trying to be realistic about that stuff obviously sucks, right? And I want to take that risk regardless, be responsible and do that. But I have to be realistic. I've always been that type of person to save my money, like in the sense of like I normally don't spend my money on the small things. I normally spend money on big things, right? Like maybe a new graphics card or computer part. Like the most recent thing that I got was this 2 terabyte SSD. Actually haven't taken it out. It's been on my desk for like over like 2 weeks now. The reason I did that is because I want to invest in the technology scare that everyone's having with, like RAM and stuff like that. So I'm like, oh, it seems like SSDs are going to have that same problem too. But, let's be honest, it's probably not going to happen. But you never know. Technology is doing stupid stuff nowadays. But again, driving that car really reaffirmed my love of cars and my passion to want to be a YouTuber, And like I had this like serious conversation with myself, is like I actually felt that joy of driving that car again. Like I like to say, miles per gallon or whatever, right? Because it really is like that with that car, cars like that. But it really was like it really reaffirmed that I've been doing solo game development for so long that I feel like I've kind of like lost that passion. I feel like I've reached the burnout that everyone always talks about. You know, even these YouTubers have it, Markiplier's had it, Jacksepticeye, you know, all these famous YouTubers have it, right? They do uploads daily, weekly, or whatever. And then all of a sudden they just kind of like, you know, lose passion. Even though they still really love doing it, they just all of a sudden are like, I don't get as much good feeling as I used to, right? And that's kind of just how I felt like with games. And I didn't really notice it at the time, but that's just how it was. And when I took that actual like me time for once in my life, instead of just like trying to focus on a job or degree or whatever, I actually was able to, even though it wasn't like visually showing too much on my face, I was able to like mentally, right? I was able to mentally enjoy that. And for the first time in a while, I felt like true happiness, you know, like I truly felt free. And it felt like weird to say that because one, I'm school debt and I'm still living in my parents' basement, you know, and I personally don't define being free like maybe financially and stuff like that with like being in my parents' basement and blah blah blah, right? And having a ton of debt, right? I don't personally associate with that. But in that moment of me doing that, I felt free and I felt like I was able to enjoy my life for once in a while, you know? And you know, I felt again that passion that like when you first create something new or you experience something new, like what I did with video games. When I first put my foot into that door and first started learning at like around the age of like 10 or so, right? When I first started learning how to make games and stuff like that, scripting and programming. Even doing that one simple line of like, oh, let me change the color of a brick, bro. My neurons were like, wow, wow, wow. They're firing, you know, they're going like crazy. And I felt that enjoyment. And it was a very memorable moment because I still remember the exact moment that I learned how to program my first line of code, you know? And it's kind of funny to say this because it's like I watched a YouTube video at the time of like some Alvin Blocks is his name for Roblox. His super early tutorials and he's like, okay, follow along. This is this how we change the color of a brick or something like that. Um, and you know, I was like, wow, I did something. I typed in these lines on my computer and it did something, and I was like, whoa, you know. And I was like, and then I fell in love with it at that moment, you know. And when I drove that car, you know, in the last couple of weeks, I was like, I internally like mentally just had that same moment, and I was like, what? You know, I thought I was having all those moments all the time. I was programming, making these games, seeing all these people enjoy it. And granted, I did have those moments, like when one of my games did really well, and obviously got taken down, and you know, I was like, whatever, I'm done with that. Whatever, you know, it's a mess of a game, anyways. But you know, you get the idea. I had those moments occasionally, but like I never had like that super big brain neurons firing every 2 seconds. You know, um, but again, I just like felt that moment when I was driving that car and everything. It's like it's hard to explain, but that you know that's kind of what happened, and I was like, damn. Well, you know, after I got home here after driving the super long drive, whatever, and you know decompressing a little bit, whatever, I was able to think about it, and it was like, damn, it really hit me hard. You know, it hit me hard, and I actually did get a little bit emotional. Um, and you know, I was like, I miss that feeling. You know, and I'm like, is it because like this and this, or is it because of burnout? And I'm like, I've experienced burnout before, but I don't think I ever experienced it like this. And maybe it's because I gotten so used to it at the time that like I didn't really notice it that much. It's like burnout, right? Um, so I mean, you know, I finished the contracting stuff that I needed to do. I'm working on this other commission stuff that I need to do for my significant other. And then once I do that, which I should be able to at least do in the next day or two, hopefully. Yeah, sure. Computer stuff is always wonky. Um, I was gonna plan on finishing on full sending my Roblox game that I was working on, get that out of the way, release it, and kind of just go from there. You know, I applied for another internship at some big company. I'm not gonna disclose it, but some big company that I've been a part of, like VR wise, for quite some time, like community wise. Like I've been there since they released their game on Steam or in the early like 2017s and stuff, right? And that's one of my many bigger introductions to VR and stuff at the time, other than Beat Saber. Goated Beat Saber game, by the way. Uh, and it's like I applied there, and like I know that the intern position there is something that I may not be the most suited for, like on paper wise, like resume and this and that. But I reached out to the I think it's the recruiter or whatever on LinkedIn, and I give them a message. I'm like, hey, I blah 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 blah, and I'm like, hey, I know I may not seem like the best person for this job resume wise, but here's my other experiences that I've done before where I may have not seemed like the best person for the job, but I was able to quickly adapt and make two big projects in the span of not even like a month and a half or whatever, right? So, I kind of tried to explain that to them and this and that, and they said, yeah, we received over 1,000 applicants in the past 4 or 5 days, and I'll get to you next week and whatever. And I said, okay, cool. Do you think you can, like, give me critic resume feedback and stuff so I can learn from this? Because, you know, I'm always trying to learn from these experiences, right? I don't want to be, ghosted. They don't tell me anything, and they're just like, "Oh, sorry, we want someone who's better capable," right? I want them to tell me, "Hey, we want someone better capable in these skill sets. Here's the reason why, and here's what we think you were lacking." I think that's really good constructive feedback because then I could build upon it, right? And that's what I want to do, right? Like that founding engineer role that I got ghosted from way back in November. Um, they said they would get back to me, give me feedback, and they never did. I'm like, wow, what a surprise, right? On this day and age, right? No shade on them. Um, Maybe they genuinely forgot about me, but I'm not here to bash their heads or anything. It's like, new year, new me. So I've set like, I never really set like goals, yearly goals for myself. Really, I always say, oh, I'm setting yearly goals. It's always like bowl stuff that doesn't actually like matter, right? Like, oh, maybe reach 75 followers on Twitch. Like, yeah, it can matter, but it doesn't really matter. Um, but this year I said to my significant other, myself, like in all seriousness, I said as kind of like a goal. I'm always like one of those people like this will happen this year, or this is gonna happen, right? Like, oh, I said I will get a job eventually, or I am going to have a job, right? Excuse me, I do have one. As a contractor, not the best paying, whatever. We're not here to get into that. We've already gone to that before. um, but it's like I told her, I was like, one of us is going to be rich this year. This year. Now I understand that's a big goal or a big thing to say, but I think it's 1,000% possible to happen this year. It could happen 2 months from now, 3 months, the end of this month. Um, so that's like the first time I actually set like a real big goal for myself and like in all seriousness, right? And another goal I set for myself internally, like mentally, is to be in shape and lose 50 pounds or 40 pounds or something like that. Doing that in a year is obviously a little, like, not really obtainable. Maybe something like 2.5, 3 years, but like, I've been working out a lot and it's been, I think, 3.5 months maybe now, maybe close to. And I never tracked my like weight in the beginning, but I think I was closer to like 220-ish pounds. And now I haven't checked my weight in the past like couple weeks. It's been like Christmas, New Year's, blah blah blah. Right, no excuses though. Right? I've still been working out and stuff. Regardless. And it's like I think the last like serious like weight thing I did was like maybe 205 pounds, and I'm like, damn, 15 pounds and around that time. Again, this is all rough estimates because I never really like weighed myself earlier before I started working out. I would say I was around 220 though, and now I'm around 200. So I'm like, damn, that's good progress. Even though for me, visually, I don't really see the weight loss. I see the muscle building though. It's like my arms are bigger, my shoulders are bigger. I can see more definitions in the back and stuff, things like that. And I'm like, damn, that's cool. I love seeing the progress like that. And I was never a gym person. Never. Oh my god, never. I like even though I worked out as a goalie and stuff and things like that, my workouts were going to the rink and just like being the goalie, doing the up downs and skating and this and that. That was my exercise. I never went to the gym or anything like that. Like that's crazy. You want me to go to the gym after I've already done like my gym? Yeah. So my upper body was obviously really lacking. Like it was like skinny and like no muscle. Like I thought I had muscle, but in reality, it was just my brain being, haha, Jimmy, like things like that. So when I went, I was, and here's a funny thing. I think I've already told this before, but I was never actually even able to do a single push up before. That's how weak my upper body was. And obviously, granted, I was obviously around 220 pounds, so it's really hard for someone who has no upper body training at all to do a singular push up on over 220 pounds. It's kind of hard, right? Unless you're some Greek god, anyways, but now I haven't really like tested, but I think I can easily do like maybe 40 push-ups, at least like in one sitting, like type thing. So I can go like 1, 2, 3, 4, rest for a couple seconds in the up position, 5, so something like that. I think I could do 40. Now in a minute I could probably do 30 if I really push it. Haven't tried to really do push-ups. I've been focusing up on my overall body, like back and shoulders and biceps, triceps, and chest and or upper. You get the idea, right? If you're a gym guy, you get the idea. I'm trying to do body building, right? So the overall body, Uh, but even before, I was never even able to do, like, you can see the pull-up bar back there. I wasn't even able to do like a quarter of a pull-up. Like I couldn't even pull myself up. Like it was that bad. You know. But now I even tried it a couple days ago. Like I actually smiled and was like laughing. I was like, damn, I can do that. I was able to do 3 pull-ups in a row. Like not chin-ups, just pull-ups with all of my whole back and everything. And I'm like, so anyway, sorry about the interruption. Getting called. So, but anyways, I was just trying to say I was never even able to do a singular pull-up before, so I was really happy that I was able to do 3 in a row. And I'm like, damn, I really have progressed. I was so happy, man. So happy with myself with that, and I still am, right? I'm still happy with my progress. I'm still obviously a little bit upset, like, oh my god, I still got my belly fat, blah blah blah. Right? I want to see my abs, But, so overall, I was really happy with that, and just overall progress that I've been doing lately to keep myself, maybe more healthy or this or that. Obviously the original goal was to do this for like law enforcement since you have to be physically good and all that stuff. So I'm still gonna use that as an excuse to keep myself in shape and everything, which will be good. And again, I'm kind of just like hoping, not really hoping, knowing that, not knowing, that's just such. I want to say praying, praying that I get the contracting thing finally turns into full time and that I can negotiate like an annual like price of like maybe X amount a year so that one I can uh, afford an apartment where I want to live, student loans, car insurance, and get that car. Bro, I am so dead set on that car because I want that car and then I want to create the channel for that car, well, with that car, and then go from there. Because even Jake Schneider did this, right? He was originally a waiter, and he worked he was getting tipped and paid really well because he did a really good job, right? And he eventually, I think, like maybe a year and a half or 2 years or however long it was of him doing, I think actually maybe a lot more than that, but of him doing YouTube and car content, he was finally getting enough from sponsors and this and that for him to be able to afford quitting the waitress job, or waiter job and then using that as his full-time income. So that's kind of like the example that I want to do. For me, is I want to take what I'm doing now, whenever I actually start getting paid what I think I should be getting paid, do that, the car, shoot all that and this and that content, and then just, that'll be it. I'll take off and this and that. We'll all be happily ever after. Anyways, so, hopefully you guys are able to enjoy the rest of your New Year's and all that. See ya.